changes planned for the school district, although we've been investing a lot of time and energy this summer, creating opportunities for our teachers to continue to hone their skills. And with some of the standards that are coming from the state in terms of the level of rigor, we've had to invest a lot more time in that.
Oh, with the state's decision to opt out of this PART consortium and this testing there, how worried are you about whether Georgia comes up with the right test and this process as it goes forward for the state?
I am very concerned about our ability as a state to provide the right kind of test with the right kind of rigor. Right now, Georgia nationally is not known for very rigorous state exams. They're just not. And they know that. This is a great opportunity for them as a Department of Education to step up and create exams and tests that really capture what kids are learning and how well they're doing. Right now, I think in many ways there's false positives, which to me means that we're telling parents and kids that they're doing just fine, when in fact nationally they're not.
So when it comes to Common Core and all the debate there, I mean, do you agree with all of those standards and kind of putting Georgia on that track, or do you agree with some of the state officials who say we should set our own here?
Well, if you look at the current standards in Georgia that have been in place the last couple of years, they were actually used as a foundation for Common Core. That's one of the reasons you hear our governor, who has been a supporter of Common Core, because he knows that it really was bipartisan. There were groups both from the Republican and Democratic parties that sat down, governors, and agreed to these standards. But there's a lot of misinformation. People think that it involves social studies and sex education, etc. So far, the only Common Core standards that have been shared are for mathematics and English language arts.
Okay, so to clarify, that's it essentially right now in terms of...
That's right. And what the standards are is one thing. How they're taught and the materials that you use to teach them is another. That's still locally controlled. So if boards of education choose to teach mathematics in a different way or use certain textbooks, they can do that. And so I'm not really sure. The debate has really been, in my opinion, muddied with lots of misinformation, I think, on both sides of the debate. If you ask teachers, what they'll tell you is, give me the standards, give me the materials, and get the politicians out of the way.
So as a superintendent of the fourth largest school district in the state, how involved are you going to be in terms of pushing state officials in the right direction here?
So I will tell you one thing that's very positive about Dr. Barge is that he's very open to allowing superintendents and others to sit at the table and help create the big ideas. The day after the announcement was made, in fact, we had a call about that, and I offered not only my own support but the support of my district leaders to really help them think through the development of tests like this. And we have to make sure that they're fair, they're easy to understand for the public, and that we raise the standards for our kids because they're much too low.
All right. Well, we talked a little bit at the get-go here about teachers and some of their concerns and teacher preparation. I know you've been involved in that on a national level and really talking about the need to get them prepared at the college level before they ever enter the classroom. And what I've heard from a lot of teachers, especially in the past year for some reason, it seems like they're concerned about not so much the curriculum or teaching to the test or that kind of issue. For them, they tell me that students are changing. Student attitudes are changing. There's less parental involvement. There are distractions for the kids in terms of technology sometimes in the classroom. And a lot of them are kind of rethinking careers, or they're just starting out and they get frustrated early. So what can we do better here in Georgia in terms of preparing those teachers for the day-to-day stuff in the classroom each year?
Listen, having been a teacher, I will tell you firsthand, it is a tough job. There's nothing easy about the job. It's hard work, but when you attract and retain and select the right people for the job that have the right skills, then I think we can make tremendous impact on kids' lives. So the first part, in my opinion, is that the universities be held accountable for the products. In this case, the product is the teacher, prepared to work with and deal with the issues that we face in the 21st century. they're not simple issues. They're complicated. Some are social, some are emotional, some are economic, and some we have no control over. But we've got to be able to prepare them for the realities of teaching today, particularly in urban environments where we've got a lot of poverty and issues with challenges with language acquisition, students who speak other languages. Those things matter. But I think the university system in Georgia is open to the idea of holding themselves more accountable. And that recent report, I think that you're speaking of, that was released by the New Teacher Project, shows, in fact, that there's a wide range of variability between colleges and universities' ability to produce great teachers. And that helps us with recruiting. So the schools that did well on those reports, our HR department and others will be focused more on recruiting teachers from those schools.
All right, let's talk about some of the positives for Fulton County. You've done very well with test scores. I know one of your goals, you said coming in just over 2 years ago, was that you wanted to kind of bridge that gap between North Fulton, South Fulton students. How are you doing in terms of reaching that goal?
So one of the first things that I think a superintendent and board need to do, which we did, which is set some pretty high goals, some audacious goals, some stretch goals, and we've done that. We've garnered the support of the business community and the faith community, which is very different for this area. We've had 2 faith summits. We can't do this work alone. We have seen moves in the right direction. 4 of the 5 high schools in South County saw gains in SAT scores. Westlake High School in particular saw a 25-point gain, one of the highest in the entire district. So we're moving in the right direction. The real question is it fast enough? We got to be able to close these gaps. So we have 6 of the 10 highest performing high schools in the entire state of Georgia, but we also have 2 of the lowest. And so we've got to make sure that we're positioning ourselves to give the resources that are needed to all of our kids, ensure that those gaps are closed.
A lot of political discussions right now in Fulton County, and I don't know how involved you get in that, but when you're talking about proposals like the Milton County proposal, do you ever think about what would happen if that happens, what impact that would have on Fulton County schools?
So I think about the kids that I serve each and every day. There are 95,000 of them. We are the largest single employer in Fulton County in terms of people who live and work here. And I worry about the issues and challenges that I have now. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about what those kinds of decisions mean to us. That's a little further up the food chain. So at this point, really, I don't have any comment on that other than it appears as though our state legislature is focused on the issues at hand, and I have not heard anything about that at this point.
Okay. A lot of other Metro Atlanta school districts are having issues with school boards. Doesn't seem to be quite the issue here in Fulton County. Tell us about your relationship with the board and maybe what's different, what's working for you here.
I think the biggest challenge for a superintendent is not just communication with the board, but really understanding that you have to forge a level of collegiality. The Board of Education, no matter where you are in this country, and I've worked in 3 states, they each represent a part of your community. And I think sometimes the challenge is when superintendents and boards don't work as a strong governance team because the ideas and thoughts aren't aligned. It's a challenge. And you've got to be able to spend time to build the relationship with your board and your community. And I think what you see across this country, not just Atlanta Metro, where those governance teams work, where there's stability with the superintendent, where they're able to spend 3, 4, 5, 6 years focused, laser-like focused on improving outcomes, you start seeing those outcomes improve. And I think that's one of the blessings that we have here in Fulton County. We've got a board who's committed to the kids and committed to this community. And we solve problems together. We don't always 100% agree on those solutions, but the board has given me the opportunity to be the superintendent, make the tough decisions, and work hard on getting them to coalesce around that.
Obviously, during the recession, a lot of metro school districts had to make some painful budget cuts, some tough decisions there, but your budget situation is pretty good this year.
Well, our budget situation is improving, and I think one of the reasons why we're starting to see a little sunlight over the horizon is because we made the tough decisions early. So several years ago, when Fulton was laying employees off, making those tough decisions. Some of our other local districts may have not taken quite as conservative an approach and lived within their budgets. Again, I didn't run those districts, but I know what we did, and that was make the tough decisions early. And so we believe we're starting to see a little sunlight because those tough decisions were made. This year, we're giving all of our employees a 3% raise, which I'm very proud of. They work hard, and they have not seen a raise in nearly 5 years.
Wow. So that's big for them. And you did some hiring too, is that right?
We did. We hired several hundred teachers this summer. We had a great group of people. We're inviting them in next week early for an orientation. This summer, I spoke at all of our teacher events and professional development. I'm so optimistic about the future. We have so many great teachers in the district, and they work so hard. And the least thing we can do is make sure that we're compensating them in a way that's respectful. In a way that allows them to continue to do their work and stay on board here in Fulton County.
All right. So what's your message to the kids getting ready out there?
Yeah.
It's always an exciting time of year,
is.
but some dread it. But what's your message to them as they get started this school year?
So for the kids, I've got 2 school-age kids myself. I've kept them very busy this summer. The social aspect of schooling is certainly an important part, particularly for our older elementary and middle school kids. They love being around kids their age. I'll tell them this, stay focused early on setting patterns of the way that you learn, the way that you're organized, and keep that focal point high and set high expectations of yourself and stay involved. School's right around the corner for the folks who are listening in. I just ask that they take great care in driving. We've got almost 1,000 buses on the road. We circle the planet twice a day with the number of miles that we put on our buses. And so it always makes me very nervous when kids come back to school that all of our drivers and commuters and others really stay focused on that and make sure all of our kids are safe.
Fantastic. Well, any other challenges or positives that you'd like to get the word out about before we start?
Yeah, so we've put a lot of work and effort in Fulton County in making sure that all of our kids improve. Recently, 2 school districts in this area were noted out of the entire nation as groups that are closing the achievement gap in AP classes, which are the advanced placement classes. Cobb County and Fulton were selected out of the entire nation as 6 districts that are doing a better job than most. So that's a huge positive for our area. And just want to thank them for what they do, and because we're partnering on some ideas as well. So
okay, well, great. We'll mention that in our Monday interview with them.
Awesome.
So, fantastic. Thank you so much.